Extraordinary. The interior is larger than the exterior.
If you think that is impressive, get a load of this.
Beep, 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 beep. I say, we've moved.
Not just through space, my boy, but through time as well.
By Joves, where are we?
I don't know.
What?
Well, I need to feed some data into the console for us to get an accurate reading.
I see. Well, how do we do that?
By gathering soil samples.
Oh, surely you're joking. Your machine can transport us to anywhere in the unknown universe at any point in recorded history, yet you're saying that in order to determine where we've landed, you require some fossilized ferret feces to get it to work?
Well, by checking the monitor, I can determine that we've arrived in a desolate, hostile environment with some truly hideous creatures roaming around out there. Oh, they're so grotesque.
We've landed in Australia. An Unearthly Child is the first Doctor Who serial, ever, to be broadcast all the way back in 1963. The four-part story introduces us to the Doctor, played by William Hartnell, his granddaughter, Susan, and their soon-to-be unwitting companions, school teachers Ian and Barbara. The first chapter sets up Susan as this otherworldly student with exceptional intelligence and a seemingly wild imagination, with two of her teachers taking interest in her unusual behaviour. Their curiosity leads them to follow Susan to the TARDIS, where they encounter the Doctor. The remainder of the plot focuses on their accidental excursion to an alien world where they're swept up amongst a conflict between two potential leaders of a tribe of cavemen. Alright. Right from the get-go, I was surprised by how good the acting talent was. It sounds silly saying it out loud, but I remember watching a lot of classic Who with some really cheesy and melodramatic performances. And to be fair, the only classic Who I've watched over the last few years is the surviving footage of the Macra Terror, and
There's another one!
can you blame me? But yes, the principal cast were all clearly devoted to bringing this quirky little sci-fi series to life, with serious lines delivered with gravitas and plenty of one-shot long takes, with actors reciting several pages of scripts without cutting. It's so interesting to see just how different the Doctor was in his origins, or should I say his original origins, because apparently the new series has decided to completely rewrite the character's history. I don't know, I haven't watched the show in years. What I mean by this is, on top of being mysterious and aloof, he's kind of a dick. No, actually, he's straight up a nasty old bugger at times, lording his superior intellect over people and straight up disregarding the lives of others, deeming them to be less worthy than his own. Definitely a far cry from the incarnations we see in later years. Although this actually makes me really excited to see how the character will progress and evolve over time. Not just in future incarnations, but the first Doctor himself. Really goes to show just how much the Doctor needs human companions to imbue him with any sense of empathy and humanity. Another thing I was quick to notice is just how crappy this TARDIS is. We know thanks to future episodes that he stole it and never quite figured out how to use it. But I mean, this marvel of technology, this spacecraft capable of travelling anywhere throughout all of time and space, somehow doesn't have a method of determining where it's materialised. Yeah, it can tell you the oxygen levels of the atmosphere and just how much radiation is about, but the Doctor needs to go and pull some dirt and weeds to feed into the system for it to determine where they are. A bit lame if you ask me. Kinda puts the chameleon circuit being damaged into perspective, doesn't it? That's actually the plot device that gets the story rolling. While the Doctor's out collecting samples, he's seemingly kidnapped by one of the tribesmen. A lot of time is spent on this group, which I initially found confusing, not confusing, but interesting in the sense that there's almost no chance of these characters returning, and yet there's so much time developing their backstories and dilemmas. I suppose that could be considered a strength to the writing, that they can use such a small group of characters to convey a whole lot of world building for each story, though I suppose we'll just have to see if that's how they continue with future serials. Maybe that's just how they made TV shows back then. Although they never really established either of the potential leaders being worthy of siding with, They both have their backstories and motivations, but neither of them seem to help the Doctor and co. Whether or not it was an intentional choice, I struggled to find any reason to side with either of them, so after a couple of pretty cool episodes, one focusing in the Cave of Skulls and one in the Forest of Fear, by the time Chapter 4 rolled around and the foursome had been captured and let go more times than Princess Peach, it started to drag a bit. Thankfully though, that's when the plot wrapped up and we were left with a pretty sweet cliffhanger. I would say that the humble 4-part narrative works in an unearthly child's favour. Any longer and it would have certainly worn out its welcome. There's only so many times I can tolerate cavemen yabbering on about, "He make fire! He make fire for me! Bring me fire! Where is the fire? Fire!" And that's pretty much it. A fairly humble beginning to an iconic show. I was kept entertained, though maybe it was just the nostalgic charm of watching a black and white era TV show, or perhaps the feeling of revisiting something I once loved. Time will tell if the enjoyment factor holds up while I revisit more classic episodes. Regardless, I would recommend checking this one out, if only just to see where it all began. A couple of quick notes before I wrap this up. That backdrop from the start of episode 2 is incredible. I honestly can't tell if it's a painting or superimposed. It looks great for its time. I appreciated the small changes made from the pilot episode, tightening up the length and making those scenes of Susan looking directly into the camera a little less awkward. And finally, the only real negative I have for this story is this one sound effect they choose to use a lot throughout episodes 2 to 4. It's supposed to be an alien bird or something, but it sounds more like a rat in distress, and they play the same few seconds on a loop over and over and over and over again for nearly every scene set in the forest. A bit of a nitpick, but it's really annoying and it kills your ears if you're watching with headphones. Something I started to think about while watching the next Doctor Who serial was how it was probably a clever idea for them to go with the humanoid cavemen scenario as a series debut, as it cleverly conceals the show's modest budget. Don't want to promise intricately designed aliens and environments right off the bat and then be unable to keep that up for the rest of the series. Hook the viewers in with the unique and intriguing setup, then work into the more fantastical sci-fi elements that would make the show go on to become a cultural phenomenon. But like I just said, more of that in the next Doctor Who story, one that introduces one of the most beloved icons of television. Tune in next time while we take a look at the Doctor's second ever story, The Daleks. Thank you so much for watching. If there are any subscribers out there that discovered this channel through all my Doctor Who videos way back in 2010, welcome back! Thanks for sticking around all these years and I hope you enjoyed. You can click right here to see the next Doctor Who review when it goes live. Hopefully, I'll see you then.